Welcome to the training video for properly baked bread. To begin, we want to start with our frozen sub rolls and just do a quick check on the sub rolls to make sure that they've been properly handled. The sub rolls should be completely frozen and the entire case should be completely loose with none of the dough or the sub rolls stuck together. When you pick the case up and shake it, the case should rattle. If it doesn't rattle, there may be an indication that the dough was handled improperly and it may need to be inspected or sent back for credit. After you have inspected your sub rolls for good quality, it's now time to thaw the sub rolls. Start by taking a sub roll and place it with the seam side down into each cavity of the sill-form pan. You want to pull out and thaw the amount of bread that you'll need for the next day. When thawing the sub roll doughs, it's important to remember that the dough needs to be covered at all times and tightly wrapped with plastic wrap or a pan cover. The dough should thaw under refrigeration for a minimum of 10 hours and a maximum of 18 hours. Once the tray is covered, place the tray into refrigeration to start the thawing process. Once the dough has thawed, now it's time to apply the toppings and the flavorings to each one of the sub rolls before it goes into the proof. Before we start to do that though, we want to gather all of the ingredients and tools and equipment needed to apply the toppings. First, I have here for the jalapeno cheddar bread today, all the dry ingredients pre-measured. I have a long narrow pan or a shotgun pan to place the dry ingredients into. I have my completely thawed sub roll doughs that have still been covered. Of course, you want to keep the bottle of water to spray the tops of the sub doughs. And then the very last item is going to be a sharp, serrated edge knife to mark the sub doughs for visual purposes. Let's get started. I'm going to begin by emptying all of my dry ingredients into the shotgun pan, and we're going to mix these up evenly.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Gently give the pan a shake to even out the dry ingredients and make sure you can't see any of the bottom of the pan. Gently remove the plastic wrap or the covering over your thawed sub roll doughs. At this point, we still want to continue to spray each one of the sub doughs. This will help in aiding the toppings to sticking to the tops of the dough here. Once you have the sub doughs sprayed and completely coated with water, it's critical to work quickly at this point to get all of the dough topped. Gently grab each one of the thawed sub doughs and you want to place with the coated water side down into the dry mixture and then just give it a gentle roll from one side to the other side so that the bottom 50% in the sub dough or the top 50% when we lift it out will be completely coated with our dry toppings. Place back into the sill-form mold and then gently position the dough so that it is straight in the sill form and then that it fills the entire edge of the sill form mold. Repeat the process as needed for however many sub roll doughs you need to top, regarding which flavor you need to top also. Once you've gone through the process of completing the tops of each one of the sub doughs with the dry topping, we're going to use a serrated edge knife to make 4 even cuts into the top of each roll to give a more visual appealing look. Start at a 45-degree angle. We're going to make 4 evenly spaced cuts through the top of the sub roll. It's important to only go about 1/4 of an inch deep. The cuts will open up as the sub rolls begin to proof.
Audio Jungle.
Once you have scored all the tops of the sub rolls,
Audio Jungle.
now it's time to place the sub dough into the proofer to begin the proofing process. Always remember to set the timer and to monitor the dough throughout the proofing process.
Audio Jungle.
Once the dough has properly proofed, we have one last step before the dough goes into the oven. Gently remove the proof dough from the proofer. Place onto a clean work surface to apply the cheese. Now remember, not every one of the new recipes will have cheese. If the recipe does not call for cheese, it can go from the proofer directly into the oven as needed. But for the recipes that do require cheese, we want to apply the cheese to each one of the top of the sub rolls at this point. For the jalapeno cheddar sub roll, we have cheddar cheese here. You want to start off by portioning a heaping tablespoon of cheddar cheese, and we want to evenly sprinkle it over the top of each one of the sub rolls. While we're sprinkling the cheese, let's review the characteristics of properly proofed sub roll. When the dough is proofed properly, it's at least double in size and capacity, and it fills out the inside cavity of the sill-form pan. Another key characteristic is to see how far the dough has risen above the pan. You want to go about a full finger and a half length above the pan. Once you've applied the cheese evenly to the top of each sub roll, gently press the cheese into the surface of the bread so it will stay on and melt during baking. After you've gently pressed the cheese into the sub rolls, at this point we're going to place the bread in the oven at a 350-degree convection oven to bake for about 16 to 18 minutes, and always remember to rotate the bread at least once while baking in the oven.
Audio Jungle.
The bread is in the oven, and now we're going to set our timer for halfway
Audio Jungle.
so that we can rotate the bread halfway through the cooking process. Remove the bread from the oven and begin the process for cooling and storing the sub rolls. Let's take a look at the characteristics of a properly baked sub roll. First, the bread is nice and dark golden brown in color. The cheese is melted and bubbly, but it's not burnt, and the bread should be gentle and soft to touch. Once all the bread has completely cooled to touch, remove each one of the loaves from the sill-form pan and place them in an airtight container for line service.